There's two different ways. You have people like Willie that come up to you and go, "Dog, I think you're funny. Come to my room on Tuesday night."
Right.
And then Willie would give you $40 and you got a fucking burrito. You got a good fucking burrito too, dog. And I always got that motherfucker too. I bring the hunger to that club.
Yeah.
You wait all day for that fucking burrito. Tell him, Willie.
I remember Jerry Bednob. Jerry Bednob used to come. For those of you, if anybody's not familiar with Jerry Bednob, was in that
40-year-old virgin.
Yeah,
good guy.
40-year-old
Good
virgin
guy.
plays
Good
the
guy.
Indian. Plays the Indian, and then Jay would always, I don't know, for whatever reason, he would always get the burrito, but he would always take it to go.
To go. Yeah. They would even tell you. When you got off stage, Lee, there was a burrito to go. That's more than the $40, okay? Because that's a meal. That's it. You got half of that night and half of that for breakfast like a soldier. You could use your $40 for other things like cigarettes and alcohol and fucking narcotics. You know, it's I think that people who miss that evolution really don't get the full circle of this career.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think something that's hurting young comics today is because it wasn't around when we were started, which is called a bringer shows. Like you can go on stage, but if you bring people. You heard of this, right? Bringer shows?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have bringer shows.
I had them in New York. When I
you had
went back to New York in 94.
Oh, okay.
Bro, for every person you brought, you got a minute.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Well, that took a while for that to get here.
I was in Colorado, and nothing was like that. The bookers would say, you know, if you want free tickets, let me know. I would be embarrassed to ask people to come watch me in those days.
Right.
So I wasn't going to tell nobody. But when I went to New York in 93, it was an education. Because the comic strip and all those places, they let you go out. Oh, yeah, you want to go out? Me go. Come on down and see me. Lee, you get so excited. You go down. The guy's like, I heard this guy say, bump into this guy. My name is whatever. I'm the manager, but talk to this guy. And all of a sudden you talk to this young college kid. And he goes, what night do you want to do? He's like, I want to do Tuesday night, the 18th. You want to do the 5:30 show, the 6:30 show, the 7:30 show? Like, I want to do the 7:30 show. Okay. And all of a sudden he gives you an envelope, Lee, and there's 40 fucking tickets. And he's like, you got to sell these at $10 a piece and keep 5 for yourself or 8 for yourself. So you owe us $80 that night or you don't go up. Shit like that, Lee.
Yeah.
And I would just pay the 80. You know what I'm saying? I would just pay the 80 and give away the tickets to fucking as a sales thing or something like that. I swear to God. I would be too fucking embarrassed. I would just pay the $80 and go on stage. That's how crazy I fucking was.
That's not a bad deal, though.
No, it was hard, Lee.
I mean,
but I was never going to sell the tickets. And then they had the other shows. The only guy that put me up in those days without people was the guy at the New York Comedy Club. I went back to New York for 9 months.
A guy named Al?
Yeah.
That he used to wear the toupee?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the other one, the one on 78th Street.
The one called Boston something?
No, that's on 4th Street. But there was
okay.
one on 78th Street that off of Broadway. And one night I did a spot there, and I brought 10 people from my hometown. And this is when cocaine was fucking huge in my hometown. And they all came and were doing coke, and they were fucking tipping the bartender $10 a piece. But I'll never forget that one of my friends at that time was a cop. And he was with all his childhood buddies. And I looked at him one time, and he was fucked up. He had coke all over his shirt. But he was standing there with his leg on the bar, and his badge and his gun was sticking out. And you could see the ring around his nose and shit. I'm like, no, you gotta wipe your nose. Like, this was a long fucking time ago. And they drank so much that the owner came over to me and he goes, you always have a spot here. Just bring these animals back. And I couldn't figure it out. Like, they clogged the bathroom.
That's when Chris Mazzilli was the doorman. You remember him? He owns Gotham's now. He owns Gotham's.
Oh yeah.
That's when Chris Mazzilli was.
My God.
Yeah,
oh my
remember
God.
that? He had full set of hair.
I'm gonna ask him. I see him in September. I go to New York in September.
But
that's what that hustle was, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee, that was a hustle in New York. You just weren't gonna get on stage. You had to show up with motherfuckers in those days. So I learned then. Like, it was, in a way, it taught me a little bit. New York, that 9-month experience in New York, and I was still reading the Judy Carter book and write her jokes like that. What pisses you off, the 10 things that give you anger. At that level, those 9 months in New York, I wasn't sure about comedy, bro. I was using comedy as a way of getting out of the criminal thing, but I was still I had just got out of prison, so I
Right.
was doing comedy, but not really. It was like my first year and a half of jiu-jitsu. I would only go once a week.
Right.
In those days, I would get on stage 2 times a month.
Right.
But then when I went to New York, all that little hustle in New York got me a little excited, but there was a bar called Your Old Triple N, and I went in there one night and I saw John Leguizamo at midnight. And, bro, it clicked. It clicked.
Why would that?
Because I always thought that Willie Barcena just went on the Tonight Show and did 8 minutes of material off the top
Oh, you
of
saw him.
his
You
head.
saw him
I saw him
bombing with notes.
with notes,
Yeah.
working out, and my whole vision came.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I was on my way to Colorado. I said, I don't need this suffering. I get spots in Colorado without showing up with 10 motherfuckers all the time. There's not as much cocaine in my face.
Right.
Every time I go to New York to do a spot, I'd stop at a spot and get a package.
Right.
In Colorado, I can't do that.
Right.
I really focused when I went to Colorado, but
Right.
it was because of that experience in New York that opened my fucking eyes to how I had to act.
It's funny how we all, because I had the same experience when I saw Damon Wayans back in the day.
Where'd you start?
Right here in
What
LA.
club? What club?
Oh,
What was the first time?
Comedy
you got-
Act Theater on Crenshaw and 43rd.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, with Chris Tucker, man. I used to pick up Chris Tucker. He had an apartment near the 101 off of Vine, and Chris used to call me up because he didn't even have a car, man. And it was him. D.L. Hughley was the host. He was a young comic. Joe Torre. Guy Torre wasn't even on the main show yet. It was the first show and second
Now,
show.
who did the comedy actor belong to? Sweet Dick Willie.
No,
The guy from-
Michael Williams. Michael and Sharon Williams.
Now, who was the black actor that was in Do the Right Thing
Oh.
that died? Bebe's Kids.
Yeah.
What
I
theater
came
did he
in.
own?
Yeah. That's
That's
one.
the theater,
That's
okay.
a theater, but he didn't own it. He was just that was his house, basically as a comic. But I started with Pierre, all these cats. I'm trying to remember cats from those days, So I what's his name? Mark. Mark had hanging with Mr. Cooper. Was that remember that show?
Yeah. Mark. He's around.
Yeah.
He's on a TV show
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
He's around. I was getting him spots at the High. Bumped into him at Rouse.
Yeah.
And he goes, they won't give me spots at the store. I go, see D'Agostino at the Ha-Ha. So D'Agostino said he was going down there a couple of nights a week and just working out. He was still really funny. He was funny, bro.
Yeah, he's real funny.
Sensational.